Again, we know LinkedIn is not evergreen. What would be the easiest way to bring that whole crew over to my email system and platform off of LinkedIn? Because again,
40% of my leads came from YouTube, and the other 60% came from LinkedIn.
don't tell them that you're following up. There's no need to even use that language. The moment
No.
you say the word following up or circling back, they're like, oh, they want to sell me something. That's the thing. God's favor puts you in rooms that uh hustling cannot. And
Today, I want to share a very special human being to me because we've been connected more than 3 years on LinkedIn, and it's such an honor to have him as guest on my podcast. His name is Jamal Marshall, and what he does, it's absolutely incredible. He is a counselor. He is a man of God. He shares so much value, and um, for me, what really stands out is like consistency and faithfulness to his calling and his work. And I cannot wait to share his wealth of knowledge, his questions, and his wisdom that he brings to the table and to this show with us. So, welcome, Jamal. So, for those who don't know you yet, share with us who you are, what you do, um, and yeah, like what line of work you do.
yeah, Eugene, first I want to say thanks for having me, man. This is an honor having been connected this many years and now make an impact together. So I'm Jamal Marshall. I'm a certified counselor, consultant, and podcast host. I'm the CEO and founder of Listen Then Speak LLC. The podcast is called Listen Then Speak, but the name will be changing in the new year to the Leaders Burnout Blueprint. It'll still be Jamal from Listen Then Speak, but we're just niching down a little bit more to be more targeted and purposeful. Gratefully, the podcast has now risen to a top 2.5 global rank with a score of 36 that is rising. So I'm just grateful for the impact. So the counseling is obviously one-on-one, and the consulting is with teams, and I do both corporate and nonprofit as well as business owners. One thing what I love about what you're doing, Eugene, is that you're literally helping business owners scale to find their target market and save. I think a lot of us are saving people time, but you save people time in a different way by chewing through the fat. So one thing I love about you is for someone with a booming business and brand is that you don't gatekeep and you
Mhm.
think, hey, there's enough space for all of us. And that is rare air in the business world. In a time when our economy is the way it is, a lot of people feel like it's just got to be me.
As many listeners already know, and like, and people who watch on me know, like what I do with my guests, it's always like two-way street. People come to this show not just like chit chat and talk about our businesses, but actually with a question, and then I ask a question as well. And I have such a good question for you, so I cannot wait. And listen, I cannot wait. It's like it's gonna be so good. But let's start with your question. How can I help you today?
I think if I had one question, Um, I have a LinkedIn newsletter, Listen Then Speak, Why Not, which has
Hmm.
nearly 11,000 subscribers. What would be the easiest way to bring that whole crew over to my email system and platform off of LinkedIn? Because again, we know LinkedIn is not evergreen. And so a platform that I have or my website, what's the easiest way to do that? I think that's a good question to ask.
Yeah, like such a good question. So let me ask you, what is your objective? And I use words really wisely, so
Mhm.
I don't use go like words like goals. What is your objective with that link? And you said also like another thing that you are looking to create evergreen content. So what is the objective for that? And which is I understand you wouldn't we don't own social media link in tomorrow can
Mhm.
say, hey, like there's nothing you can say about your services on the platform as like it's just for jobs, y'all. So and if you're not looking for a job, like get the heck out. So like I
Yep.
understand that portion. So but like what is the objective of evergreen content and evergreen community?
Yeah, so the objective of Evergreen content and Evergreen community for me is to continue to impact elsewhere. Obviously I play the hardest on LinkedIn. You follow my other social media platforms, you'll see that I'm there when I can be, but I'm on LinkedIn consistently. And so I want to bring, that community, those who have invested and signed up for the newsletter and consistently, are reading it and gleaning from it and getting value from it to be able to get value elsewhere. And if indeed, God forbid LinkedIn ever handed me the eviction notice, but they do that to people randomly throughout the year, it seems that, my community isn't freaking out, but they know they still have an access point elsewhere. That's on the technical side, but also to give them content that is more evergreen elsewhere. Because typically with LinkedIn, your newsletter may be there, but your post will only live for 7 to 9 days, so to make sure that people can still get the same value add in a place where it lives more in a more permanent stance. Where it's not, oh, there was a shadow ban here, or I'm just forecasting because you never know when these things will happen.
Yeah. So as of right now, what evergreen platforms do you have? I know you have your podcast as one of them. What other evergreen platforms are you currently using that will push your content without you pushing it?
I have MailChimp, and I'm still learning how to use MailChimp. I think I have a Mailer Lite account, and I do have Podia. Obviously, that's what I use my digital products through. So.
Okay. Have you thought about, and like I promise you, we're gonna talk about your like how to, like positioning and marketing and like how to bring people over from LinkedIn to the email list. I know I remember what you asked, but I want to dig a little bit deeper because like if we're looking for green like evergreen, so we might as well start with evergreen. Have you thought about starting a YouTube channel?
I've been positioned for people have told me to start a YouTube channel for the better part of 2.5 to 3 years. And so I am believing, obviously, I'm not even gonna believe it. 2025 is the year to do that. It's also the year to take my podcast and to place all of the episodes that are there on YouTube so people have visual access to how that happened in real time.
That's a smart move because I'm going to share like one story with you. So, from my corporate background, and we were connected when I was back in tech, back in corporate. I created a few videos about XCUI tests, and if it sounds like a foreign language to you, it is a testing framework for mobile applications. And those were very crappy videos with kind of like crappy audio. Like, I mean, like you can hear me, but like you can hear me, like typing on my keyboard. I did not have the mic. I did not have the camera. Like I use my phone. I use my laptop camera. So like that was not a high quality video. And probably 40% of my leads for my career coaching services came from YouTube, and the other 60% came from LinkedIn. 40% of leads came from YouTube. And this is the content that was not optimized properly. Imagine if it was. That was content that was just like hanging in there, and it started really slow. It started with like I don't know, like 5 views, and now over time it got thousands of views because like that was very niche and unique information. Nobody else until this day, not many people are talking about it. So, and it was like because of my brand change and my offer change, I had to hide this content and it hurt because like I know so many people like were getting so much value from it, but like they would come for a real reason. So uh I'm saying all that to say that if you position yourself correctly, if you use like as like when you start a YouTube channel, basically the platform will know nothing about you. It's just your name, your thumbnail, your title, and the metadata, the description of the video. And for the description of the video, this is where the magic happens. Like you bump your link on top. So because what we want to do, we want to make it easy for people to grab the link, right? Because they watch on the device, so when they scroll, they want to see clear link, clear place where to click, clear place where to tap, and they sign up. Because this is how I grow my own email list, right? Like, well, I grew my email list through paid ads. Like when I started, when I did not know anything about paid ads. So like my first 50 people that came to my email list came from paid ads. But also a significant amount of people come from YouTube. So I think if your objective is to create evergreen content with evergreen community, you have to have evergreen channel because MailChimp, Podia, I mean, those are platforms like it's a good for distribution. But if we talk about evergreen, this is YouTube all in all. And um, the thing is, one video can can actually push your content for years and years and years and especially what you're talking about, like burnout, mental health, mental fortitude, um, the struggles, right? It's this is something that people are constantly looking on YouTube, and like your video is going to be recommended once platform understands you, your videos are going to be recommended. And um, at this point, for my business, for example, I get consultations, and I think in 2025, I probably need to pay a little bit more attention to the platform as well. But I do get consultations from YouTube because sometimes once in a while you get a like sales call in your in your on your calendar, and you connect with that person, and that person has no social media presence whatsoever. Like who are you? Like, oh, like I've been following you on YouTube for like last 2 years, so I decided to talk. So how's that like resonate with you? And what do you think for your content? What would be the cadence and what would be the rhythm to create that evergreen community?
That resonates pretty heavily with me, especially, since we've been using the word evergreen. And, the primary thing I'm concerned about is the impact. The sales, a lot of people talk about that. Sales take care of themselves. I've been doing a lot of what I've done in the last 2 years off all inbound leads. Yes, I'm actually saying that on this podcast. That means I've not gone out to prospect. And so I have no problem with that. The biggest thing is making sure that the content is there and it's accessible. And then they have the needed access they can get to me, and that they can continue to defer back to this thing. And so for me, the cadence I think would at least be weekly, something sustainable first.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then, as we continue to scale the business, there's a website team, there's a podcast production team, but also scaling out with, one or more virtual assistants that can actually handle some things that more administrative tasks, then I can show up more consistently. So.
Yeah, I would say, well, a lot of people think, and I think there are different seasons in business, right? Like as a CEO and founder of your company, you should be doing what is the most of your unique ability and creating messaging, creating positioning. This is your job description as a CEO. Like you must do that. Editing the video, scheduling emails, doing administrative work. This is actually costing your company so much money. And I understand different people in different seasons. Sometimes we have to do the dues until we can hire somebody, or like when we trust ourselves enough to hire somebody, which is the whole another conversation for another day. Like I completely agree. I would say based on what I know about on YouTube, weekly videos or even semi-weekly videos like that will help because there's a one misconception is that like if I'm starting on YouTube, I should post every day. Like no, like this is YouTube is very much quality first platform. So your editing has to be not necessarily, like super like snazzy, super complicated, but it should be really good messaging, really good editing, really good content with a very clear context. So it is like you can do TikTok and like Instagram type of videos on YouTube. Absolutely, there's a like segmentation for that, but that content will not bring you high paying clients for your consulting and coaching program. Like your long form evergreen content will, well, you can tease with the short videos, right? Like sometimes what I do, like I do a clip and it connects to my video, and people who just doom scrolling and like, oh, like, oh, for example, words equal money. Like what, like with Kristen, we were talking about like, oh, words equal money. Like let me look, right? And this is how they come and resonate with that. Now, let's go back to LinkedIn, right? Because I know it's one of your main platforms. So how do you normally get people to go off the platform on either on a calendar link or like go externally from platform? What techniques are working right now for you to take them off the platform? Because what we're talking about right now, we're going to take your followers off the platform. So what is working right now?
I usually write a CTA at the end of most posts, not every post, just because for your audience, I like to show up human. If every post has a CTA, even when people do that who I follow, I'm like, it looks salesy to me and I don't like it. So I don't put a CTA on every post, but the majority, when I'm actually maybe prospecting or whatever like that, I'll put a CTA on there and it may have a link to my Calendly in the comment section or right in the very post itself. Some people say the algo doesn't like that. The last one I did like that with the with the thing in there got 70,000 impressions. So who knows what the algo is going to do? And so either that or like if it's my MailChimp, I will actually put that link into the comment section so people just know that hey, there's a mailing list that exists off this platform and people will click on it and come to it. And then there's
Okay.
a whole series of things that takes me through where they are in that process of did they open it? Did they go through the prompts? Did they click off? So I have certain things that I do know, but
How do you, and like that works like that's absolutely, and by the way, I think LinkedIn like quietly changed and switched the algorithm on us with like links in the post. I think it is a value driven. Like for me personally, what I found like works on LinkedIn really, really well, and this is what I was experimenting on the platform, posting less but create discussions and create community engagement in the comment, and actually drop the link after the party. Like people would start sharing, pouring their thoughts. Somebody will share because they want to warm up algorithm. Somebody will share like or comment because like they see you as an influencer. And normally at the end of the day, I would drop a link, and sometimes it will produce results, sometimes it's not. Like like people are unpredictable. Sometimes I put it in at the beginning. But another thing, how do you feel about engaging, on top of that, engaging with people in the DMs? Because people who engage with you, and if you have premium account, you can actually see who saw your content, and you can actually DM them without being weird. It's like, hey, like I saw you were staring at my post like for 30 seconds, so I decided to send you the link directly. So how about people who engage with you? You actually send them a DM and say, hey, thank you for engaging. I'm creating a larger community of the LinkedIn. Um, does it sound something that you would be interested in? And if they say yes, then send them the link. Have you like what are your thoughts on that? Have you tried that approach?
I have not, but I'm definitely willing. So
Yeah, I think what it comes to social selling, we are leaving so much money on the table when people engage with this, when people express something in the comments. And like some people will engage for the engagement's sake because they need to push their post up on LinkedIn. And I respect that. I'm in business too, so I understand. But I also had really amazing conversation, especially when I was talking about my pivot and when I was talking about switching like the business model. People were like legit like, hey, like I was going through a similar thing as well. Like this is, yeah, thank you for posting that. Like my next year, like because I'm in this situation, I will be probably looking for help next year, not right now. Or like, hey, send me the link to schedule a call, like whatever it is. But like it's just like that extra push when you acknowledge people. First of all, people like to be acknowledged, right? And you remind them like, oh, right. I did like that post that Jamal posted. Some people will actually go ahead and look at that post yet again. And like, this is how people engage with that. And this is like, and a little bit of an extra mile because riches are in the follow up. Give people a couple of weeks, maybe a week, maybe a couple of weeks that you send link to. And I know it's a lot of work. This is something probably your virtual assistant can do. And after a week, if they did not sign up, if you don't see them on your CRM or on your subscriber list or whatever, you go and remind them like, hey, by the way, just wanted to make sure that you saw that. Like I didn't see you on the list. Is it something that you are still interested in? Or ask people like what's stopping them from signing up for a free resource. Some people will forget. Some people will say, hey, like I'm actually not comfortable with just sharing my email. Some people will say, like, you know what? I actually don't know why would I need that? Why would I need to be on the email list for like a counselor? So you will uncover objections, you will push people who just forgot about it, and you will also narrow down people who are signing up because, and also like narrow down people from your connections because some people will just go ahead and just connect with you because they will never buy from you. And when they see that you're serious, like they're just curious, they just gonna exit stage left. So this is something that also like something that I do because at first I was getting upset like people are like unfollowing and like but I also got like 130 followers because of that and it's just like circulating the right followers. So that's another social selling tip. And this is low hanging fruit, y'all, that we don't think about. So like yes, we send email, we send the DM, but do we follow up? Because if we don't follow up, hence we don't have like today, literally an hour and a half, I was following up with leads that I started conversation in July and somehow I forgot about them. Is it embarrassing? Yeah. But also like do I have to remind of people that I exist? Also, yeah. And like if you are in business, you cannot be shy. That's what I think.
Mm, that is the truth. Well, one thing I heard from one of my business mentors is that the fortune is in the follow through. Uh,
Yes.
and, I would say, even though this is my question for those who were here in this podcast playback, don't tell them that you're following up. There's no need to even use that language. The moment
No.
you say the word following up or circling back, they're like, oh, they want to sell me something. Build a relationship. I cannot tell you. I'm definitely one of those certified counselors and executive coaches that has made the investment in my own physical, spiritual, mental wellness in my own business, and that investment has cost a lot of money. I've paid top dollar, so I'm not one of those guys who's like, I'm calling myself a counselor, yet I'm investing in BetterHelp. Sorry if that's your sponsor, but no, we don't. I don't go cheap on the things that I do.
Hmm.
I actually really pay top dollar, but I also observe a person's behavior. I observe who they are. I build a relationship before that trust is engendered. So even for those who are listening to this answer from me that are getting my free coaching, as Eugene is answering my question, make sure for you that, when you follow through with a person, have a conversation, understand how to have a conversation and to listen for cues, because the more you build trust, the person will enroll themselves.
Yes, and if you're like if you have social sellers on your team, this is your social selling training. This is your social selling strategy. I actually was considering and still am considering signing up with a coach who used to be a social seller for one of my mentors. She was a head of sales department for her coaching program when she was like running her business at scale, and she like since my coach descaled her business and works more so one-on-one right now and like small groups. I'm considering signing up with her social seller because we built the relationship and because I was seeing so much service and so much like genuine connection from her. And the crazy part that she doesn't post like anything like on socials. Like it's relationship marketing, which is not a good thing. Okay. Like I'm not gonna glorify that. And we were talking about that in the DMs. She said, like, Eugene, I probably need to hire you for social media marketing and messaging. And you probably need to hire me for like better and deep sales training because like she has like girl has like 20 years of experience in like consultative sales and like we can probably do exchange services. So like uh you're passionate about sales, I'm passionate about content, so we can probably do something, like for tit for tat. Well, I have a question for you, Jamal,
Go for it.
because I want you like it's such an amazing thing when we can actually exchange value like that. So, and my question is, what is one thing that I can do right now to improve or move up and move forward with my self worth? And let me explain it a little bit because it is a little bit broader question, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just like self worth, like heal your inner child. Like no, we're gonna go deep. So how it shows up for 2024, the way it showed up, that I was subconsciously attracted to people who were not in a good state, whether they were like couldn't afford my services, whether they couldn't implement my services. So basically, broken, vulnerable, not in a good way. And this is one thing. But like when I see those people, I like something attracts me to them. And another thing, and I actually took a step forward with that is with my pricing because God
Mhm.
was working on me so hard since March. And I think
Right.
in the month of December, God clearly told me in the spirit, through the people, in the spirit again, like you cannot charge $4,000 for $20,000 vision that I gave you and for the results that you got to people. So why are you undervaluing my gifts that I gave to you? Like
Mm.
this is blasphemy. Like this is the blockage. So I I move forward with that, but how do I address self-worth self-worth issue? And a little bit of a help for you, it's actually coming from my childhood. I was born with cleft palate, and cleft palate is basically when the roof of your mouth is missing, when nasal and oral cavity is this like one big cavity. Sometimes it is manifest with when your lip is split, like upper lip split right here, like with your where your nose is, when your nostril is. It did
Mhm.
not manifest that way in me. Like my face was untouched, but internally it would require like two surgeries to actually get me to the speaking the way I speak right now. And people say, like, you have a little bit of an accent. Like, well, I have a little bit of a surgery too. That kind of gives like that unique voice. But that event, right? Like projected basically that self-worth because since
Mhm.
the beginning, like I was different. I was misunderstood, not understood, not seen. And it and it projected all the way to like here I am in business, and business is spiritual, and all of your insecurities and self-worth issues will show
Mm.
up and come up with your business. So what can I do right now? What is one thing that I can do right now to address that? And and before I go to therapy, because it is a therapy question, like it's not a quick win, but what can hold me over until I get to a specialist?
One, I want to just say thank you for your vulnerability and your transparency, especially in this open place with content that is evergreen. And two, I want to just thank you for the way you qualified that it's not a quick win. And you know because you function in the clinical, so many people are offering that silver bullet. And I want to say for anyone, whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn or Facebook, if someone's offering you a silver bullet with issues like this, run as fast as possible. Take your money, take your time, take your revenue, and get the heck out of Dodge because they are selling snake oil. Let's just put that on the table right there. Two, just to answer your question, there are a few things that are at play. Um, and you giving me plenty of context. So even while you were talking, we're on a live call, but if I was looking down, I believe in giving eye contact is because I was writing. And this is the same stuff I do with clients and prospects, just to try to collect enough data so that the way I give you the answer, it's data informed.
Mm-hmm.
And so even that not being seen as a child, it creates in a mentality I call of a take what you can get. It's like I can't get what my regular needs are. And I'm not going to go into deep detail, but there's a hierarchy of needs that each of us
Mm-hmm.
human beings have. And whenever that takes a blow or the wind is knocked out of that hierarchy of needs, we will overcompensate in another area. And that overcompensation, I want to just speak plain English, can create a high functioning codependency. So for a business owner or a person in their career, you will be drawn near people that you feel like will depend on you, people that need you, but a lot of times those people drain you. And that's why the price had been, you had that low price point because it's like these people that you feel need you, it's part of you that actually you feel like you need something from them because that need wasn't met as a child. And so how do I compensate for that? I make myself available where the value add, you're adding high value, but the value add is not as appreciated. Let me put this in clothing terms for everyone listening. If you go into Neiman Marcus right now, I can guarantee you, you will see a lot more people standing in the clearance section than you see standing in the rest of the store. Because everything on the clearance section, you can get something for $150, and that's the clearance section in Neiman Marcus, or $100. Take yourself off the clearance rack. And I can't stand the whole quote, know your worth. If a person hasn't known their worth over 20, 30, 40 something years of their life, they're not just going to know their worth. There literally has to be work done within the subconscious mind. But what can you do right now? You can do right now is by recognizing, okay, this is high functioning codependence. How do I then disrupt these patterns that I've been in for years? One thing I tell my clients, a phrase that I've coined and trademark is a pattern remains a pattern until it's disrupted. And so the quickest way to disrupt that pattern is actually to pause. Pause and breathe. There's ways that we can, even without seeing a therapist, you can self-regulate. Because when the brain is in dysregulation, it's moving at a faster pace. So let's say normally, mathematically, you're supposed to be moving at 70 miles per hour. In dysregulation, you're moving at like 500 miles per hour. And it's easy to make a snap reaction than to make an informed decision. And let's just say in sales, that snap reaction is actually costing you a lot of money because you're literally taking on clients at a low price point, many clients at a low price point versus few clients at a high price point. They're actually waiting for you to see your value so that they can see it. You see it, let's go faith-based for my Christians and my religious people. I say it's another phrase that I've coined. The seed you sow is the crop you reap. You reap what you sow. And so, if there are seeds planted within your subconscious mind that have not been addressed, and those are seeds of lack, that's going to be what you put out. And if that's what you put out, especially in your career and in business, that's going to be what you get back.
So good. And I think it is so true for many business owners because I was actually listening to one of your episodes this morning because for the people who did not come from money, who grew up in constant lack mindset, constant the money saved is the money earned, and it is so difficult for us to actually go to the abundance mindset, to go like, you know what, there are more people who will buy 10,000, 20,000, $30,000 program than people who will buy $4,000 program. And it's actually true because like I was hearing from other business owners that like when they put their first offer for like 3K, like they got like four sales. And then in particular, I remember Myron Golden was sharing that story. He was, and you know, I feel some type of way about Myron Golden, but I respect him. So let's just put it this way. But then he said, hey, like when I increased my price, I sold more, and now my pro was like when is that? Well, like $54,000, and I sold out. And like, but how can it be? Because like we also see in corporate, because in tech sales, it is easier to sell $200,000 solution and be sold out than sell $5,000 coaching program because the mindset of the buyer is entirely different. They see differently. And in fact, your price that you might think like, oh, like I just gonna start slow, you will actually repel the qualified people that you are qualified to serve to. And it's like it's not always about the years of experience. It's not always about like the qualifications. Sometimes you have the unique ability that those business owners or those customers are lacking. And this is what like I'm sure like that Oprah bought services from other people who were less qualified than Oprah because of their unique abilities, not because of this shiny object, this shiny, experience that they have. Like, oh, like I need YouTube. Like that guy can do YouTube, and he's not Oprah, but he can help Oprah to do YouTube, right? So like that's also what I think.
No, that's a great follow-up, man, because it's not about all the degrees. You can have more degrees on your wall than a thermostat and still not be great at what you do. I cannot tell you that in my business, the spaces I've been in up to this point, and the spaces I'm going into, that on paper I may not qualify for because I mean, I got 16 years experience, but I'm a beast and a half as a counselor and a consultant. I get you results. There are some people in the wellness space that have great marketing, but they waste time and
Hmm.
revenue. And there's some of us that just get you results. When people see the value add that you can get results, oh, they'll find the money. So that's the thing. God's favor puts you in rooms that uh hustling cannot. And we learn, part of burnout and stress is actually hustling and grinding yourself to powder because we enter into the Western capitalistic mindset. Not that all those things aren't bad, that we have to constantly be everything and everywhere to everyone. Let me tell you something. Being everything to everyone is poor spiritual, physical, psychological, and social hygiene. Remember that.
Yes, that's so true because God gives like even if we look at the biblical stories, right? Moses, Elijah, Elisha, prophets, right? They came for a very specific assignment to very specific people to a very specific like point of time. And this is what this is what they came for. Like they did not come for everybody. They did not come for the entire world. They did not come for um like the expansion came after the main assignment was done.
That's it.
So the expansion when like Gentiles and other nations were accepted to God's grace came after the main assignment got done. A lot of business owners are going for expansion before their main assignment is done and before their entrepreneurial resurrection is done and the people that they are here to do serve are served. So that's kind of what I'm thinking too.
That's it, Eugene. I want to go back to your question because I want to make sure I address it in totality. There's
Hmm.
an ancient proverb in Proverbs 23:7. It says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So females who are listening to this, as a woman thinks in her heart, so she is. It's not, I can tell you a running theme. One thing you want to do as a coach, counselor, consultant, business owner, you want to be collecting data. You want to make sure everything you do is data informed. And you also, like when I mentioned BetterHelp, I can tell you for prospects, I always ask, like, what have you tried before you got to me? Because before
Hmm.
someone's tried, before they've gotten to me, they've already had counseling, they've had coaching, they've done all these kind of cheap online things that have great marketing across YouTube, and they say, okay, wait a minute, this has not worked. And another running theme I get, especially when a person is done with the first 90 days and we do the review, they said, man, I've done years of cognitive behavioral therapy, but working with you, I was able to accelerate my growth within 4 months. I'm literally taking the guesswork out for my clients because I'm not working on their behavior. Cognitive behavioral therapy, I'm trained in it. It's great, it's wonderful, it's cute, it's lovely. It works to an extent, but it will only catch you so far because it's going to modify your behavior. What I work on specifically is the belief that's informing your behavior. So to you, Eugene, I would say, what do you believe? And then collecting enough data on what you're believing. And you already shared specifically some things like this is what affected my belief. So how do we then unlearn what you have learned to this point and then begin to dig new neural pathways so that not only are you confident, because people overuse the word confident in
Hmm.
wellness space, but you're actually aware so that even the vibration you give off when you're on a call with a prospect says, you know what, I'm engendering trust with this guy. They'll enroll themselves. And you'll be like, how did I get an 11K client like that? Because they know you care and they know you can deliver because you know you can deliver. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So before we part ways, I wanted to ask you, what is your approach? What is your unique method to like counseling and coaching? Because like you mentioned CBT, right? And I like my take on CBT. It's like it can work. I'm more so like Gestalt and ACT, like Gestalt therapy and ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy kind of guy, like in combination of both those approaches. But what is your unique recipe? What is your unique approach that you are taking your clients through?
Yeah. The secret sauce is for my clients, but I'll give some high level of the unique approach. So, as a certified counselor, that allows me to do both therapeutic practice and also coaching. And also, since I'm trained in the clinical, it allows me to understand the neuroplasticity of the brain, how the brain works, and human behavior. And so, with clients, we're not only going back before we go forward, because I think that's super important. You can't just stockpile on like a coach is going to just kind of be like, well, let's just move forward in the moment and ask them questions. I'm like, no, we got to go back. And so first, we're literally going back to deal with the three different modes of who you are: child you, young adult you, and adult you. All three of those have very different visions, very different mentalities, very different ways that they process intel. And so after we get to that point dealing with those parts of you, I also make sure that I give homework. There's a live sheet that I use with each of my clients because if we can't track the data, we can't track your progress. We can't track the goal mechanisms, and we cannot build on the topic habits that get you the result mechanism that matters to you. That's a big, I think what I hear from my clients, and each time I do a prospect, when they do a video, is like the homework is a huge part and it's all interconnected. There are literal videos assigned based on everything that happened in the session. So every session is like if you guys ever watched a soap opera or WWF or WWE wrestling, each episode goes from the last. Every session is concurrent on the last session. We're not just going with a blank state, like we are literally building up to a crescendo. And that's, I believe, what makes my coaching and executive coaching and counseling so effective is because we're not missing a beat. There's even a scripture that says, I haven't failed to declare to you the whole counsel. I'm not skipping around, just shooting in the dark. There's literally data informed work to ensure that clients get the results, to ensure that they can 2x their time, to ensure that they can maximize their productivity, to ensure that then just not being an object of productivity, that they're efficient in what they do, to make sure that they build up their business, their brand, and their career to what it's supposed to be, but also to ensure sustainability. I'm not here to beat someone up in the process and beat and whip them into shape. We're here to work on the mind because the mind is a control tower to the body.
That's so good. And how people can find you. And after the show, if you could share all of the links that you want me to put in the show notes, like please do. I will put them in the show notes. But if somebody is watching you and like, I need to connect with that guy, how, where they can connect with you and how they can connect with you.
Yeah, I'll give you guys two of the easiest ways to find me. One is type in JAH. If you jump on LinkedIn, I'm the only Jamal that spells my name this way in like all of LinkedIn. There's only seven of us, I think, on the whole planet that spell our names this way. So I'm super easy to find on the internet. Um, and I'm very active on LinkedIn. Connect with me there. Or go to my website, listenthenSpeak.com. And also for your audience, I am offering, and this is for anyone who listens to this playback on YouTube. If you use the term LinkedIn Wellness, the very course that Eugene and I talked about earlier, it's a burnout mini course. It literally takes 16 years of the experience and 12 weeks of what I've done, and it packages it into a tiny little mini course. And it's a primer to really help you get to the root causes of what's going on in your subconscious. It normally retails at like 1,500, like in the corporate spaces. But for anyone listening, I don't want price to be an issue because I know some people people talk, well, I can afford this, I can do that. I understand this time of year, money is scarce because people buying stuff for their kids. It's Christmas time. Forget that. So at $97, you can just grab it and it'll be that for however long. I'm not putting, this is not scarcity. I'm not putting a limit on that because I want as many people as possible to get into this course. And you can also have schedule a debrief call with me. So like we had this conversation, you all can have that same conversation with me, but also find me on LinkedIn, jump on my website, and all of that stuff will be in the show notes.
I actually review your course, not necessarily the content, but the syllabus, right? Because like I'm in clinical work and I remember us exchanging in India. So like, well, it's a like clinically sound course, like based on the just the syllabus. So like that sounds about right. I would do that. So like I can vouch for that because I've seen the syllabus, I've seen like what goes into the course, and I would definitely highly recommend. And yes, and it is JAH because I was like, for the life of me, I could not find you on LinkedIn because like I spell like Jamal like I normally would spell Joel. Like, hold on, like that's spelled differently. Like why I can find Jamal. So, but like now we know.
It's always a blessing to have an endorsement from another clinician and someone who understands human behavior. That's when you know you're cooking. So, yeah, folks, grab that course, man. And again, there's a link all the way at the end of it. You get a certificate for completing it, but you also can make an appointment to have a debrief with me so we can really jam on what's going on with you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and I will see you all on the next show.